Hi everyone, this is Aaron. This is video 1 of a tutorial on TI-nspire CAS calculator, especially the handheld. In this video, I want to talk about some general things, including the features of the calculator, the basic settings, as well as scratchpad versus documents. Let's get started. Okay, so here we got the screen and the keys. As I'm sure most of you know all the features about the CAS already, I'll just go through some of the important ones in case you don't know. Everything in this section is pretty intuitive. This is the home button where you can click it to return to the home. And this is the document. This is the menu where you can access all the common functions. This is the escape. And this is the scratchpad, which I'll discuss in more detail later. And then this is a tab, which you can use to access the graph entries here. So yeah, that's it. And then moving on to the keypad area. So here you can access all the trig functions. Here you can access all the common operators, like square roots, exponentials, and so on. And here is where you can access all the special symbols. An important thing to know is that, say you have an I and an E here, right? They're different from the I and E on the alphabet. So like if you're working with complex numbers, definitely use this I instead of this, or it just won't work. And oh yeah, one last thing. Here's the library. Well, like most of the time you won't even use it, but if you just want to use like some complicated function or like your own function, you can use the library. And for user-defined functions, you can access them here, like library 6. Okay, so now we can move on to the settings. To access the settings, you can go to Home, and then 5, and then 2. And so here we go. Float just means the number of decimal places. I will try to keep this as large as possible. So here I'm doing 9 because it just improves the accuracy. Okay, so for angles, I will definitely try to keep it in radian because most of the time you're working with radians, that is in methods and spec. Also, it is quite easy to convert from radians to degree because you can just multiply the thing by 180 over pi, right? Okay, so I wouldn't touch the exponential format and real or complex. Oh yeah, so if you do specialist maths, you know that numbers can be real or complex. So here you can get real, rectangular, or polar. So of course, rectangular and polar are referring to the complex numbers. So I would recommend that you would just always keep it in real, because even if you keep it in real, you can still do complex arithmetics. But if you keep it in rectangular, sometimes the result of some calculation might be unexpected. For example, if you do the cube root of -1, instead of giving you -1, it would give you a complex number, which isn't good, right? Calculation mode, definitely leave it in exact because again, it is quite easy to approximate the answer. So yeah, we would just leave it in exact. And yeah, I think that's it. Okay, so now we'll move on to the last part of the video, which is scratchpad versus documents. So let's just hit OK to save it. And if you're using an older version, you would hit make default to save it, right? So returning to scratchpad and documents, I would definitely 100% recommend documents over scratchpad, and there are 2 reasons. Firstly is documents are much more powerful than scratchpad, because if you think about it, right, a scratchpad is basically just a calculator page and a graphs page, and that's it. There's nothing more to it. On the other hand, in a document, you can create as many of these pages as possible, and you can do that by control document. I'm sure there are other ways to do it, right? So now you have 9 options, and you can do this as many times as possible. So yeah, that's just great, right? Like you can create it again and again. And also this can help you to become more organized, right? Because by having more pages, you can have less working on one page. So another reason why documents are better than scratchpad is you can have like multiple problems in a single document, and in different problems, the variables that you have defined are not shared. So what I mean by that is that like if you define a variable here, so you can define by doing this. So that's basically like define a to be 3, right? And you define another variable here. They aren't going to interfere with each other, right? So here a is 2, and here is 3. And that simple feature is not possible in scratchpad, right? In scratchpad, if you do like a is 2, so now a is 2, and if you define a as 3 to make a 3, you would overwrite your previous definition. And some of you might think, sure, I will overwrite it. What's the big deal? Well, the thing is, suppose you're doing an exam, right? If you keep overriding your previous definitions, then after you finish the exam and want to go back to check, you need to define all the functions all over again, and that's going to waste a lot of time. On the other hand, if you don't have to do that, then like it's just going to make checking over your answers much easier, right? Oh yeah, one last thing that I forgot to say earlier is that to view all the variables that you have defined, you can just like hit this variable button, right? And then you see this A, and then if you hit enter, you get the variable. This can come in handy if some of the variables that you have defined has really long names. And like if you go to a new document, you can see that there's no variables that are defined. Yep, and I think that's it for today's video. I hope this is beneficial to you, and if you have any questions or suggestions, please leave a comment. See you next time.